Hey, y'all, it's Brad Allen with the Art of Real Estate, and this is Travis Hudson with Prudential Financial, who also does a lot of our insurance. And today we're going to talk to you about some flood insurance stuff because myself and Travis both kind of got flooded out in the 2015 floods, and we just got this cool piece of mail that said our premiums are going up. And I was like, that can't be good. So I called Travis. He's like, I got to look into it too. So we're kind of trying to figure that out if you got one of those nice little letters in the mail. And the majority of the letter talks about a flood certificate. And I wish I had the letter on me, but it just says if you get a flood certificate, which we're going to talk about, that you can kind of change your flood zones possibly. So first thing we need to find out is, how do we know if we're in a flood zone, Travis?
Yep, so really with flood insurance, you're going to find out if you're in a flood zone really one of two ways. First and foremost, you're probably going through the buying process and your lender is going to reach out to you. They're going to run what they call a flood zone determination. Okay. And they're going to say you are in a flood zone. Okay. From there, you need to reach out to your insurance carrier, and your insurance carrier will run the same exact thing, a flood zone determination, right. And it will tell that carrier what zone you're in, okay. Whether it be Zone X, which is the most preferred flood risk, okay. Zone AE, which is kind of middle of the road, and then Zone VE, which is going to be your coastal properties with really high premiums.
Nice.
So the main thing being, look out for your lender reach out to you and say, hey, this is our asset, so we want to protect our asset, so you're going to have to get flood insurance.
Right.
But again, from there, take it to your insurance company. They can run a determination and determine what your zone is and what your price is from there.
Okay, so one question I've gotten asked before, especially right after the floods, if you're not in a flood zone, like if you're sitting on a hill a mile above the sea level, but you're one of those people that just want to have insurance, can you get flood insurance if you're not in a flood zone?
It's open market for anybody and everybody.
Really?
So if you're not in a flood zone, you're considered Zone X, which is the preferred risk. As a result, your premium is going to be very, very low. Okay. So again, for peace of mind, if it makes you sleep better at night, your Zone X premium might be $200 or $300 a year. It varies, of course, depending upon property, but it's very low cost. Anybody and everybody can get it, just in case another 2015 comes to play.
So what does, so I got flood insurance on my house, and I wrote it through y'all through a means of that. So what else, does that cover the cars out in front of my yard? Does that cover my shed? What do you know?
So flood insurance covers two things. It covers your dwelling, which is the actual structure. So the brick and mortar, the framing, the crawl space, your units, everything. Okay. So that's the dwelling piece, and then it covers your personal property as well, which is all the contents inside your home. Okay. Clothes, TV, furniture, everything you have inside the home. Cars are actually covered. A common misconception: cars are actually covered under your car insurance. In order to have your car covered from flood damage, you have to carry comprehensive coverage. Okay. So as long as
full coverage, is that what the comprehensive is?
Full coverage is considered comp and collision. So collision covers you if you get in an accident. So even if you just carried comprehensive, it's going to cover the act of God type stuff. So wind damage, hail damage, flood, fire, theft. Okay. So as long as you have comprehensive coverage, flood is absolutely covered. I learned it the hard way on mine. Lost 2 of my cars to the flood. I had comprehensive coverage, and of course it paid out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
not awesome.
Not awesome, but it's better than not, right?
Right.
I'm always curious if insurance guys carry the most insurance, or they're like, I'll hedge my bet. So at least you have it, right? So let's talk about the flood certificate. What is a flood certificate? How do we get one? Or there's a certain name, there's different names for it, but how do we get one?
Yeah, so an elevation certificate is required nowadays to get any flood policies. It used not be required for all zones. Like if you're in Zone X, they wouldn't even require an elevation certificate. Nowadays, it is absolutely covered. An elevation certificate tells FEMA, who handles all the flood insurance policies and the flood risk, it tells FEMA about all the different elevations of your home. Okay. So again, how elevated is your actual home in relation to the floodplain? Okay. How many flood vents or how many vents do you have around your house? So if there was a flood, could the water flow freely through?
Got it.
It'll tell you how elevated those vents are. So it tells them all the different details on your home. So again, once you have the elevation certificate, you type that in, type in the insured's name, the address, and it gives you a premium on how FEMA is willing to rate that risk.
Okay, so it's kind of for the way I understand, FEMA does these maps based off a satellite. They're trying to do, they're pretty accurate, but they're topography based. So an actual flood certificate or elevation certificate is done by a surveyor. That does the different levels of topography. So that way it's accurate based on your current satellites.
Yep. Okay. The surveyors typically it's a land surveyor, just as you said. Survey is typically going to range anywhere between $400 all the way up to $1,000, depending on the size of the property. Just the amount of measuring, the amount of time it's going to take them to truly measure and evaluate your home.
All right, and so with that, going into that, once we get the flood certification, because like the letter I got in the mail said if I don't get one, I need to get one, or if I don't, I think it said they're going to raise my premiums over the next 5 years unless I prove them otherwise. Because I'm barely in the floodplain. I just happened to lake backed up and got me, so I'm barely in it. So when I get that, and it's good news or bad news, like I'm worse off or better off for being in the floodplain, like what do I do with it then?
Once you get your elevation certificate, that's when you reach out to your insurance company. Okay. They basically have a tool, and it ties in directly with FEMA. Okay. They enter all those elevations. So they enter the number of open vents around your house. It might be 16 of them. Okay. They enter the exact elevation. It might be 18.3 feet above the floodplain. Enter all that. They hit a button, and it comes back with the different coverages you can choose from. As far as what you want to select is meaning the biggest flood policy you can get, the legal policy limit is $250,000 for the dwelling. Okay. Even if you have an $800,000 home, $250,000 is the max for the dwelling. $100,000 for your personal property. But again, you enter all that. The agent will enter all that information into the quote, and it'll come with a different list of deductible options and coverage limits, and you kind of pick and choose which is your best fit for you. Okay, so when it comes to flood insurance, are there any things that we need to know that we may not be thinking about, or we talked about one point about sometimes there's 2 deductibles, one for your contents and one for the house? Is it? Yeah, absolutely, and that's a big factor here. So flood insurance is one of the unique insurances where, again, I told you about the 2 coverages you had earlier, one for the dwelling, one for the personal property. You actually had to satisfy a deductible for any dwelling damage, and then you got to satisfy a brand new deductible for personal property. So, for instance, you might choose to have a $5,000 deductible because you're just worried about the big stuff, and the chances of a flood are slim to none. At least so we thought. So, if you have a $5,000 deductible, though, you're going to have to come out of pocket $5,000 for any dwelling damages. Then you have to come back out of pocket again $5,000 for personal property. So make sure you're aware of that, and if you can handle that out of pocket, great. If not, you might want to consider lowering your deductible. Perfect. So to kind of wrap this all up, Travis is an actual past client of ours, and so he also does a lot of my personal stuff. So you kind of wear a couple of different hats. So why don't you tell me a little about your business, about your financial side and your insurance side, so if they're looking for somebody. Yeah, absolutely. So I appreciate it. So yeah, I'm a financial advisor with Prudential. I've been doing it since 2004. That's really what I hang my hat on, taking care of my clients on their financial picture. In 2008, I started a property and casualty business as well. At that time, I was a captive agent with Liberty Mutual. Really focused with them. They're a great company, really for the preferred risk, high credit, low risk clientele. But that was their niche. So since that time, we have evolved, and now we kind of have all the different carriers to offer, whether it be Stillwater, Progressive, Travelers, you name it. So you can shop them around now? Exactly right. We can shop it around. So, and again, we're licensed to do flood insurance in both South Carolina and North Carolina. And any type of insurance for that matter, home and auto in North and South Carolina. Yeah. And so even my commercial stuff, I've called Travis about it, and he doesn't actually dwell in that part, but he's gotten me some good people. So if you need insurance or any kind of life insurance, which I've got with him as well, and some other stuff, give a shout out to Travis. He's at Prudential. We'll put his contact information in the blog post. He's just downtown, actually, so just right around the corner. So if you have any questions, look at the documents we'll put in there for you. I've got a couple of documents from FEMA on some fact sheets and some other stuff. And then if nothing else, get an actual insurance person, take a look at your house so we can get it protected. So thanks for watching, guys.